To jump on all of our digital and social streams to give you an update on what's going on, and we'll provide intermittent updates through the evening on our main channel, Wave, and we'll progress through the evening and just see where this takes us. So we're spending the evening with you. How you like that? We've got the tornado watch still in place. That covers all of our counties. That's in place until midnight tonight. Let me show you the current radar view. You'll see we have one severe thunderstorm warning just outside of the viewing area. That's moving up toward Martin, Knox County. That's farther to the north. Now, here in Louisville, we do have some showers and thunderstorms around, and this is that final line. If you were watching us earlier, we kept saying, because it was back out across West Kentucky, Southern Illinois. So once that line passes, the show is over. That's it. You can see there's lightning along that, but what do you notice? No warnings. And that's the good news. Does that mean that we'll stay that way? Not necessarily. We still have a pretty juicy atmosphere. We still have plenty of wind shear in the atmosphere. But at this point, we have no warnings locally. Now, I'm going to take you on a little radar tour here. And as we zoom in, I want to point out we do have one severe thunderstorm warning farther to the north. That one is outlined in black. That just means that a tornado is possible with that. Why? I can show you the inside of that when we look at the velocity. And you're going to see there's some broad rotation with that. It's Cincinnati, but that's Indiana. Cincinnati, Indiana, moving up toward Beach Creek. All right, back to the radar view we go, and then back to our home view. And then we'll zoom into Louisville. We'll show you what's going on here. So we're just on the stream. I can't see your comments in the studio where I'm standing, but Ryan can. Let me just show you the setup of what we're going to do. We're at 8:12. We promised you we'd be on at 10 after 8. Here we are. We're going to stay with you for a little while. But if it looks like it's going to be a dud and nothing's happening, well, we're going to get back to looking at the future forecast down the road instead of just babysitting the radar. Obviously, we'll be watching it. So here we are in the studio. I'm standing in the chroma key. Ryan is over in the Weather Center. And Ryan, you were watching some of the social streams, but this is going to be a laid-back conversation that we're going to have with folks that are at home. And here we've got our storm tracker out. We've got our SkyTrak cameras. And frankly, we're tracking storms, but no warnings.
Yeah, the purpose of this is to be on standby for you guys at home so that you can kind of figure out what's going on and so that we can be in position just in case something pops off here. We do have many comments from our folks who are watching us on social media. If you're watching us on Wave Weather Now or Wave Now, both of our weather and news live streams here, you won't be able to see these comments, but I'll pop them up on the social media like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch type live streams here. May Ramirez asks, will it help to weaken the storm if there's no sun for these storms later tonight in southern Indiana? Yes, us going towards sunset here, which is just after 9 p.m. this evening, is a helpful thing. We'll be able to get this line of storms through here, and hopefully without any additional warnings, which is very possible at this point, and without the sun trying to heat up the atmosphere, the amount of instability that we'll have for these storms will start to wear down as well. We've got lots of questions about like individual locations, like Joseph saying, hey, is it going to be bad in Sellersburg, Indiana? And at this point, we're kind of on the tail end of this. We're in the final hours of this wave weather alert day here. We have no imminent threats. However, with this line of storms still marching through and a lot of wind shear in the atmosphere, thanks to the remnants of Hurricane Beryl being in the area, lots of wind shear from that alone, we have to watch this as if something could happen here at any very moment here. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Are there going to be any additional tornadoes, you think, for the evening hours? That is possible. We'll see. But I think a lot of this is going to be positioned in areas just to our north here. It's more of a central Indiana sort of deal here. So these are a lot of the comments that we're seeing right now. Some folks saying, hey, I live in like Oldham County, haven't seen much today. Where are the storms at? Most of us will get in on some of these storms like that line moving in from the west at this time here, Kevin. So we'll watch these social comments here coming in from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, what have you. We're on all the platforms.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. We'll just say we're everywhere.
New car for you and you and you.
You can see how laid back this is, folks. So we want this to be interactive. We want you to participate, and we'll have our own storm tracker participating pretty quickly here, too.
Yeah, we look forward to that. Mark Wilson's on board. He's a storm chaser, so we'll get his perspective. Obviously, there's not much to chase tonight. We've got some thunder and lightning along this line, but again, we'll stress there are no warnings. So you say, well, why are you on? Well, here's the deal. We're not on Wave. We're just on our digital stream. extreme. We're sort of weather geeks anyway, so we'll be watching the radar every night if we had this moving through. But the fact is, because of everything that's been talked about with the threat that could be there, we're more or less just kind of putting everybody at ease. That's the point of this. Does it mean we won't have a rogue warning? No, it's possible, but the chances are fairly low at this point, especially because we have now no warnings anywhere along that line. Sure, as we go through the evening hours, the low-level jet's going to increase. We have the remnants of what was Beryl moving to our north. We have that circulation, the rotation, the twist in the atmosphere. That's the wind shear. We've got plenty of that. We've got plenty of moisture. We've been dealing with strong southerly winds, pumping in plenty of moisture. We made it into the 90s today. We've got plenty of heat. So the energy is there. The moisture is there. That's the fuel. The lift is there with the low nearby, and the shear is there. So we have a lot of the ingredients. We do not have severe weather going on right this time. We are a little more stable than what some of the computer guidance had suggested initially. I'm going to take you on a radar tour, just showing you where we have the downpours, and then we'll go back out closer to the area of low pressure. Notice our temperature here in Louisville, 82 degrees. So as we zoom in to Louisville, and then we'll go to the south and back out along that line, I just want to show you we have thunderstorms. This is not severe. It's not going to be severe, but we do have some rain falling down across southwest Jefferson County. Let's go PRP, Valley Station, just past you, working your way over toward the Jefferson Memorial Forest, just south of Iroquois Park. I can put this into motion for you so you can see where it's going. As we push the play mode there, you can see it's pretty much lifting straight to the north, a slight eastward jog to that. So Iroquois Park next in line on that. I'm going to stop the radar, and then we'll just kind of pan it around. So let's stop it, and then let's grab it and pan it back to the north. So PRP, Dawn G, getting a little bit of rain there. We got Iroquois Park seeing some rain next in line. We've had rain over the airport. You see that lifting over toward the Highlands. We look down toward Parkview, McNeely Lake. You can see rain, Moore High School seeing the rain. Again, all this lifting off to the north and east. So Fern Creek, no rain yet, but you're going to get it. J-Town, you will too. Seneca High School with rain up to St. Matthews. This is going to just zoom past downtown, so we're going to stay dry here at our studios. But places like Germantown and the Highlands could get clipped by that rain that's over Audubon Park. Ballard High School seeing some rain. Prospect dry. We go across the river. Let's swing into southern Indiana. Clark County, Sellersburg, up toward Perry Crossing, right up to the Memphis exit, the big truck stop. You got heavy rain falling just off to your west, over toward Board and Daisy Hill. I'm going to ask Ryan to queue up our SkyTrak cameras. We've got cameras up in that area. Obviously, we've got our Starlight camera, and we also have the cameras from downtown and New Albany that we can point in a number of directions. And Jeff, in fact, we can see the clouds on the horizon as we look back out to the west from those storms. So we're watching all of that. And as we take a closer view, back to our home view, in fact, let me just show you our SkyTrak cameras. We're just rotating around. So I'll ask, and there you see the radar view, but we're looking on our SkyTrak cameras depending on which one we have up. We've got several of them up. This is the Hubers one that you see behind me. That's in Starlight, Indiana. And you can see that broken sky just a bit, showing that, there's nothing too ominous about that. We've got some rain. We've got clear skies in places. All in all, for many folks, this is going to be a nice summer night. That's not the only SkyTrak we have. While we have it full, let's go through the list of them. In Louisville, we're looking out to the west, and we can see some lightning showing up in those downpours. So you could see in that Starlight camera some lightning. This is from our downtown SkyTrak view, and we're looking off to the west. And again, no problems here in the city. But if we swing that around, you're going to see the downpours that we talked about, not far from the Highlands, not far from Germantown. And that's where we do have some heavy rain. And you can start to see that there. Notice now we're looking more toward the south, and then we're going to swing that on around. That's that southern rain we're watching. So we do have some rain falling in the metro that will impact some folks, but it's not severe, and it's not going to be, at least not this individual cell that we have moving through Jefferson County. And there you see additional showers. That's the Omni. Now we're looking just off to the south and east.
We're at the mercy of our bandwidth here, so apologies for this being excruciating to watch.
That's all right. And now we're looking back out to the east there. So that's due east. And that is the rain over St. Matthews, Germantown. So you can see that rain. I mean, it's super close to downtown, but it's not raining here. Probably as close to us as like what, Zorn?
Yeah, it looks like about Zorn Avenue there. Yeah, you're not kidding.
All right. So that's, a couple of views of the SkyTrak cameras. We've got our storm tracker deployed as well. You saw that. I'll ask Mark Wilson to jump in with us here. Mark's a storm chaser. He's a drone flyer. We also have chased storms together. Mark and I had a chance to spend some time out in eastern Kentucky when that flooding hit. His video has been on many of the national networks, including the Weather Channel. So let's bring in storm tracker storm tracker, Mark Wilson. Obviously, there's not much happening here in Louisville, but I did want to bring him in and just say thanks for spending part of his evening with us. When we set out our plan to do this, we thought the weather may actually be a little more active. We jumped on at 3 o'clock this afternoon with nonstop tornado coverage right up until 7. But Mark, let's talk about some of the storms that you've chased in the past. Nothing on the horizon there, but in the past, you've seen a few.
Yeah, I think when me and you went out to Eastern Kentucky, was that 2021, 22?
Yeah, for the flooding.
That was probably some of the heaviest damage I have ever seen, and that was just caused by water. I had never seen anything like that. So you're right, today there's not so much happening around here. There were a couple. I saw a huge tornado out towards in Indiana, Union County, I believe. That was a couple hours ago. But right now, yeah, as you can see, it's kind of just not much going on.
All right, Mark, thanks. We'll check back in. Obviously, we're just kind of showing all of the resources that we have here so people know when the weather does. And this is a practice round for us, too, by the way, because this is taking everybody in the station to kind of push this out that's involved. Obviously, we've got our storm tracker on the road. We've got our SkyTrak cameras up and rolling. We're watching the radars. We will, use this as sort of an exercise. But I've got to tell you, I don't think we're going to stay on all evening talking about a bunch of nothing. I'm just on to let you know, hey, we expected it to be a little worse than it is right now. We may have the worst behind us. We did, by the way, for folks that are just getting home saying, I thought they said it was going to be bad. Well, you know what? We had tornado warnings where we were on from 3 until 7 o'clock. And we were able to go to our 7 o'clock news. And now the good news is we're not seeing any warnings. So hopefully we can ease back just a little bit. And we'll be taking some of your comments and questions. So let's go over to Ryan. He's monitoring a lot of those in the pod.
Yeah, I've got a lot of different sources here. And one of them literally is my watch here. And National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio says they were tagged in a video on X showing a very brief tornado near Batesville, Indiana, a little bit earlier there. So the tornado threat continues, especially areas north of our counties here. You see behind me, we have the storm tracker live. It is on 265 in southern Indiana, now into Floyd County. We'll continue to monitor where it's going. And of course, we have your comments as well. So many folks are asking about what happened today. Like Joshua on YouTube here, he says, I barely saw a drop of rain today, and I'm in the 10% tornado risk from the Storm Prediction Center out in Oldham County. Will we get hit? And right now, Josh, some good news. I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal because as we zoom out on the radar view, you'll see the storms out to our west here. Of course, the storm tracker in the middle. No warnings out to our west. These storms have some lightning, but they don't look as intense as we thought they would be at this time. I'll put this into motion here so you can see where this is going. I think we're in pretty good shape. So thanks to Josh there on YouTube for commenting here. We have another question from Misty. She's saying, is there a tornado in Breckinridge County? Did that happen today? We don't have any sort of reports of anything like that happening in Breckinridge County so far today here. Let's see. We've got some folks complaining about what happened today. Like, hey, guess what? We canceled our fair because you all said it was going to be so bad. I'm sorry, Madison, our kids missed out.
Wait a minute. I got to jump in on this. Who said it was going to be that bad
That's
where
a
you
good
needed
question.
to cancel a fair? I don't think anybody said that. We said we have a chance of severe weather. It was an enhanced risk area. We've had, by the way, how many tornado warnings today? 5,
just
6.
a handful, so
Yeah.
5 or 6.
I mean, we've had, it's not like we got past this with no tornado warnings.
Stuff did
so
happen,
I'm
guys.
sorry you didn't have damage in your backyard, but no. You're not going to put the blame on the weather folks for canceling a fair. By the way, if you watched Wave, and I'm going to guess you weren't watching yesterday, because what we did say was it's not going to happen everywhere. And in fact, some places we get no rain. And places that have the weather, even fewer would have the severe weather. We said that multiple times yesterday. So here we are. This is what happens. We're forecasting for 33 counties, and it's not always the same. But we walk away from today with about 5 or 6 tornado warnings. We're lucky none of them, at least as we know at this point, touched down. That's good news. But the rotation was there, and it could have happened at any moment. So not going to take the comments of, oh, I canceled my fair and yada, yada, yada. That's.
Well, I got to flip the coin on the other side, though, because we have Samantha says, you guys seem to be pretty calm. The other stations had me worried today. So it really just depends on who you talk to here. But yes, we were going into this with a, hey, woohoo, there's an alert day. Make sure you're prepared just in case there are tornado warnings, which we did have today. But thankfully, we did not see widespread damage here. It's not like we're cheering on severe weather. Heck, we'd rather be eating dinner right now.
Yeah, that would be good, right?
Yes. We actually already did.
What other comments you got?
So right now, Beverly's saying it's raining very hard in Borden, Indiana. Was raining, I should say, but it is not now anymore. That's no surprise given that storm that moved through there. Let's see. Oh, Chris asking a very good nerdy technical question here. Christopher Bowles is always kind of the weather nerd. How are the thermodynamics in advance of the final line of storms? Well, we can judge solely by the radar view that they are not good. The dynamics are good. The thermo part of that, not so much. So we don't have a whole lot of heat energy. We've got a lot of cloud cover and rain-cooled air from those prior storms that are kind of mucking up the atmosphere for these storms to be strong as they move in here. But the wind shear is tremendous. And in fact, it's tremendous in central Indiana, where they've had some tornado issues here in the last little bit. In fact, if I pan the radar up, boop, you'll see that there is a tornado warning, a pair of them, in fact, well to the east of Indianapolis. They're kind of approaching the Richmond, Indiana area, west of Dayton there. That is in the National Weather Service, Wilmington, Ohio's county warning area, CWA there. So that's what we're watching here with regard to the thermodynamics. Is not a very healthy environment for those. I'll get to one more here before we continue our conversation elsewhere. Let's see here. Let's see. Miss Belcher here says, any idea on Corden getting ready to put the kids to bed? Should I wait? Says, if you can't pronounce my name, just say Taylor. Okay, yeah, Taylor, thank you. At this point, I think you're in pretty good shape. We always say to have the Wave weather app and a NOAA weather radio just in case, because, you know, what happened last week on July 4th, for instance, we can have these small spin-up tornadoes. They happen in just a few seconds here. So it's always good to be prepared. But I think in this instance, this evening, we're starting to see the severe weather threat go down somewhat. It's not completely over yet. That's why we're here, of course, with our Wave Weather Alert Day coverage on Wave Weather Now. But we'll continue monitoring the radar. We'll look at your comments, and we'll see what other sources of information we can give you over the next little bit here, Kev.
Yeah, we'll bring this line a little closer to the city. We'll see how it's doing. If it maintains any type of intensity, which, I mean, some would argue there is none with it now. I mean, we've got 2 areas of lightning with that. That's about it. I want to roll through the storms on the radar. We'll both do it with reflectivity and velocity so we can see if there's any rotation. The deal with today is, because we're so close to that parent low, that we do have some sharp shear in the atmosphere. The wind energy, as Ryan was talking about, is tremendous. So we do have the ability to rotate the storms. It's just a matter of, will they intensify? Typically, by this point in the game, we wouldn't see a whole lot of intensification outside of what's already there. And we just don't have a lot that's already there. Does that mean that we wouldn't see 1 or 2 pulse up? No, that is possible, but it becomes increasingly unlikely as time passes by. So let's just go through the radar view, and then we'll jump back to more of your questions. We'll check back in with Mark. We'll just have a conversation, and we're at our home view, so I'm going to pan down because I do want to show you the warnings. This, as Ryan was mentioning, this is Fayette, Franklin, and Union counties of Indiana. That you can see that core of lightning there. So I'll start with that one, even though it's out of the viewing area. It's the closest warning to us. This will be able to allow me to demonstrate the radar. First of all, we can see that little notch That's the inflow to the storm, that hook that it forms. So that's the reflectivity. We can look, I'm standing in front of a green screen, by the way. There's nothing here. I'm using a series of buttons on a clicker to hit these imaginary buttons that you see at home. If I punch up here, it turns this on and off. So goes away, right? Sometimes we have to punch it multiple times, comes on. Each of these have other sort of sub-menus. So if I go to reports, you can see I have a whole list of reports to choose from. Local storm reports, imping wind, hail, flood, MSD rain gauges, and other rain totals from the Kentucky Mesonet. So we have a lot of options. Back to the home view, back to the drawing tool. So I just wanted to point out that the radar is powerful, has a lot of things. So for us to be able to manipulate it like we are, is kind of cool because those buttons really aren't there. So this is the hook. This is the inflow. We see that. I wanted to show you the velocity on this. So we're looking for rotation. Reds and greens toward and away. All right. So we've got the greens going toward the radar, the reds going away. That gives us the indication when they're gate to gate or right beside each other. That's a couplet. That's a powerful signature of rotation showing up on the radar. So one would say right there, we have the ability to see that tornado touch down. All right, this is radar indicating this is moving off to the northeast at 30 miles an hour. Billingsville would be in the path of this storm. This is nowhere in our viewing area, by the way, but that is where the strongest storm is. This is how we diagnose and sort of read the radar. I'm going to grab it and go back down. Let's pan down and get back in our viewing area. There we go. So we go back into Jennings County. This is the velocity we have on. So this is not rain. This is showing us wind, velocity, speed, and direction. That's what velocity is. So we're looking around. We're looking, and I can punch up just the radar so you can see why we're looking at inside that storm. So if we're over in parts of Jackson County, again, Brownstown, Seymour, it's right along US 50. Let me just pan down a little more. We'll go back down into Scott County. There's Austin, Vienna, Scottsburg. Let's take a look and see if we have any rotation within that storm. And the answer is no, but we have a couple of pockets of wind. Those brighter colors indicate little pushes of wind. It's not severe, but it could be 20, 30 mile an hour winds at the radar beam, and so a little bit lighter down toward the surface. All right, so let's go back down. I'm going to turn the radar back on. Going to pan us down right back into the metro area. All right, so let's grab it, pan it down. We're coming right down I-65. So this is where we have some rain. We've got cameras that can show you this. We've been watching. Again, we've got a camera in New Albany, so we can see that. We've got a camera right where it's raining. So in Jeff, we should be able to see, it should be raining right at that camera, and our downtown Louisville camera should show that storm fairly well. And we've been watching the one over Linden, too. So I can show you our SkyTrak cameras. Let's take a look. Here's the one from Jeffersonville where it's raining, but just on the other side of the river. I don't know if you can see me waving at you there, but there is no rain falling in downtown Louisville. In fact, we've got some sunshine. Good time to look for a rainbow, perhaps. So that's the Jeffersonville camera. As we pan it around, you're going to see the storm. And we're sort of sliding underneath of that storm, and there's the heavy rain falling just across the river. That's I-65. Headlights coming at you. Those folks are going south. You can see a little lightning at times within the storm. But not a ton of lightning. Some rain, sure, moderate to heavy at times. And we're panning all the way 360 degrees. We're looking back to the east, and there's the Ohio River. There's the Big Four Bridge and I-65. No big problems, Ryan. So a quick camera tour there showing heavy rain literally almost fingertip length away.
Anyone dizzy yet? We panned all the way
like around. I was on one of those cyclo things over at the fair. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't have a fair. You canceled that for me today. My bad.
It's funny. We have lots of folks from Madison now commenting on social media like, hey, this person doesn't speak for us. We appreciate what you do.
The fair canceller right there.
We get it. Yeah. Here's the deal. We've got so many folks in here. By the way, 1,625 viewers with us amongst just the social media platforms that we serve, not including our own exclusive Wave Weather Now live stream That's exclusive to our website, Wave Now, the app on your TV, and of course the Wave Weather app here. So many folks are commenting here like, hey, is this tornado watch going to get canceled early? It technically goes until midnight here. And in fact, I'll pop that up behind me here so you can see what I'm talking about. And there is some big potential, I think, for this to get trimmed back here pretty early. In fact, you'll see out to our west, it's all gone in the Evansville area. Expect that line to kind of march eastward, the line of clearing this tornado watch out. So even though it technically says midnight, I think by 10 o'clock, we'll have a lot of counties out of it. And well before midnight, I think just about all of us would be out of the tornado watch there. So many folks like Sabrina trying to chime in with that, saying like, hey, here's the deal. Like, are we going to be in this tornado watch all night? I got to put my kids to bed. What's going to happen here? Often these tornado watch and severe thunderstorm watches, they have an expiration time on them that is very generous, if you will. So they push pretty far into the future, farther than further, I should say, than they would really need to here. So that's why that time is the way it is, even though it'll probably get canceled beforehand. Also want to share with you just kind of a wide view here. Like, why is this happening today? Well, I'm going to draw a big yellow L here on the screen if I don't accidentally call it off. There we go. It's coming back up now. This big L right here that you see in southern Illinois, that is the remnant low of what was Hurricane Beryl, and now it's moving through. So the problem with today is that we were on what's called the dirty side of this storm, and meteorologists often refer to the right front quadrant of a hurricane or tropical storm as the dirty side, because not only do you have sort of the forward motion of the storm kind of exacerbating the highest wind gust. If you were to plot it out on graph paper, it would make sense. But you also have the warm, moist air coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, at least in our case, powering up some pretty nasty looking thunderstorms that can capitalize on the wind shear that we have today, providing the tornado risk. The one missing element from the equation for right now and this evening, and possibly for the rest of the evening here, is that we've had so much cloud cover, we've had other thunderstorms today that are kind of ruining the heating or the thermodynamic environment for those storms to amp back up once again. So despite us having all the wind shear we could want in the world, provided the spin in this actual low pressure here, without the heat energy to power these storms up, it really doesn't mean anything. So this is one of those high shear, low cape setups for those weather nerds out here, almost like you would see in the wintertime, but instead we have it here with the remnants of a hurricane moving through because we've kind of expended all the energy. So that's kind of the mechanics behind what's going on, why you see kind of the spin in the atmosphere, why we've had the alert day today. It's all having to do with the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. If we did not have that hurricane, the weather today would be just a normal summertime day in July. So these hurricanes can often disrupt calm weather patterns and droughts too, mind you. So we could use some of the rainfall that's currently moving through. So that's a welcome thing, Kevin. Yeah, and some of the heavier rains falling in a part where we've had the sort of onset of the drought. Yeah. So that's some good news as well. We're at 8:38. At 8:41, we have a commercial break that I'm going to interrupt on Wave. So again, you're going to see some behind-the-scenes baseball here of how this works. So we're on our digital streams. We'll take a quick second to introduce the sort of alert day to the folks watching whatever's on. What do we have on? Looks AGT. Like, yeah, America's Got Talent. So we'll take a quick second to do that at 8:41. So they're going to give me some time cues. We'll let you know what's happening as we get close to that. It'll be a quick 2-minute update on TV. I'll just take the commercial break to give people a quick update so they're not worried. Some people wanting to go to bed, they're probably like, oh my gosh, can't go to bed. Got a tornado watch out. This is going to be up all night. No, it's not really the case. So we'll kind of put them to ease. We won't take all of the commercials, but we'll take at least this one so people know what to expect through the evening hours. So again, we do have some rain around. This is unsettling to some folks. They may hear the heavy rain, hear the lightning or thunder, and hear the thunder in places, see the lightning. Again, shouldn't be unsettling. The idea is this is sort of ramping down instead of ramping up. All right. So that's good news. It's not completely gone. We still have an opportunity for a warning or two. But by all intents and purposes, this is the final edge of it. So we're already about ready to get one county out of there, and that's DuBois County. You're almost out of it. And that means the watch will be canceled for you shortly. That means you can sleep easy. Once this line passes, everybody's going to be in that boat.
We're at 840. It's going to take a little while to get this past us, but the idea is I don't even think we're going to have to wait for it to pass. I think it's going to happen beforehand. All right, I see it's 840, so I'm waiting for the cue from the control room. And once we get the times, just let me know. What is our time? Do we have a time? All right, so we got about a minute left here before we jump on. I'm going to start with the tornado watch. I'll explain that while the watch technically is still in place, we're already sort of extinguishing some of the counties back out to the west, and that's going to be occurring even further to the as you move eastward through the rest of the evening. Then we'll give a quick radar update and walk through it. It'll be a quick 2-minute update on TV, and then we'll come back and still have the conversation that we're all having. We're 40 seconds away from that. Let's go through my graphics. That's the watch. I'll spend some time zooming into the radar view. We won't have to worry about the big board. We have no warnings to talk about, and we certainly don't have to worry about going to a tornado safe place. So I'm just going to reverse my graphics, start here. We're about 20 seconds away until we jump on TV. We'll interrupt America's Got Talent just for about a minute and a half here. So we're 10 seconds away from that. So bear with us as we jump in. If you're watching side by side, you'll see what's happening at home. All right, here we go. 5 seconds. Hi, everybody. I'm Wave Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned. We're keeping an eye on things for you tonight here on Wave, and we're streaming on all of our social platforms, even outside of the commercial breaks, so you can watch nonstop weather coverage there. The good news is there's not a lot to talk about. We have the tornado watch technically still in place, though some areas back out to the west already seeing that expire early, technically in place until midnight. Let me show you the radar view. Here's what's happening. Not a lot. So if you were thinking, hey, can I get some sleep tonight? The good news is the answer to that is yes. We do have some downpours around, but there are no warnings. And the chance for warnings as we progress through the rest of this evening will get lower and lower. So that's good news. All right. And the reason we're on just during this one commercial break is because I know a lot of folks, they see the tornado watch and they say, man, I don't know if I should go to bed or not. I'm just letting you know, while we do have some downpours around, and we've had one moving across northeast Jefferson County from Prospect into southern Oldham County. We have others back out across parts of southern Indiana. And yes, we have had some severe weather today, but currently there are no warnings. Even along this line, the showers and thunderstorms have been diminishing. We've got a little lightning northern parts of Lawrence County. Once this passes, certainly any threat will fade of severe weather. But even beforehand, these individual storms are showing little to no signs of ramping up. So instead of ramping up, we're sort of ramping down the severe threat through the rest of this evening. So that's our plan. If you want a little more weather information, we'll keep the conversation going on all of our digital streams for probably another 15 to 20 minutes. And then if we need to jump back on to television, we're in our studio here. We can do that fairly easy. But for now, just know there are no warnings. The watch technically in place, but the chance for severe weather continues to decrease across the area. We've got more AGT coming up for you, so stay tuned and keep it right here on Wave. All right, I think we're just outside of our television time there. So what we call that is hiccuping in and out of programming. So we do that sometimes during severe weather when we do these live streams where we can jump in and talk to you guys a little more informal because it's a two-way conversation. And then when we're on TV, we're sort of just pushing out information so folks can know what's happening. So this is where we are. There's just not a lot happening. Ryan, while I was doing that update, was really looking at some of the new data coming in on the atmosphere. There's not a lot of promise that these storms are going to intensify anytime soon, I suppose.
Right. So check this out. This is the latest that we have on what's called storm energy or Cape break here. And I brought this up. Now, this is model data, so it is not perfect, but it at least kind of shows you the idea of what's happening here. To the west of the line of storms, it's over. No more storm energy. All right. So once we get that line through, we're pretty much out of here. I know some folks were like, hey, wasn't this line supposed to strengthen as it moved in? Aha, you are correct. However, what happened today is we had plenty of these front-running storms that happened, both this morning and, of course, this afternoon, too. We were on the air for hours with tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings here. And they put out enough cloud cover and rain-cooled air that even in the area where you see yellow, which would be kind of a higher amount of this storm energy or Cape convective available potential energy, for those of you who are wondering what that means here. Even where it's yellow, I don't think it's able to capitalize on this because some of this is now kind of capped. So we're really not seeing a huge amount of storm energy here. And what perhaps best kind of shows, how sharp this cutoff is going to be when this line of storms moves through is the significant tornado parameter here. And it's showing us that Evansville is completely done with this. And if we put an animation on this, you can see where this has been kind of going over the last 3 or 6 hours here. I think this is a 3-hour loop here. And you'll see that the, kind of the storm or significant tornado parameter, that yellow value here, which are some higher values of that, are trending northward, which is exactly what we've seen up like near Union County, Indiana, with the tornado warnings they've had up that way here. So the data suggests this evening that with the diminishing of the amount of storm energy that we have, this line of storms moving through isn't going to have a lot to work with here. And forgive me for just a second. Thankfully, we're just on live stream here. But I'm going to bring up a piece of data here that really kind of gives us the hour-by-hour look at our Futurecast here. And what this is going to show us is that as we step forward through time, as we get toward that 11 o'clock time frame, now I think this is about an hour behind here, but this will be around, say, 10 o'clock, so kind of advance it an hour, if you will, here. We should have this line of storms east of Louisville, and by midnight, this will be well to our east here. So once we get this out of here around that 11 o'clock-ish time frame, we'll be in great shape. But the reason why we're on this evening is just to kind of walk everybody through this. I know we've had a lot of warnings today. Your phone has probably blown up with notifications from the Wave Weather app. I've sent some of those.
Do you still have battery left?
I have 59% left. I have a newer phone, though, so I'm a lucky
impressive.
duck. Yeah, my old phone would have been dead 4 hours ago. Yeah, and that's why I have a new phone.
Wait a minute. I just charged mine, but I'm
you
back.
cheated.
I did, yeah. Well, I had to. It was dead.
Yeah, I had an iPhone from like 4.5, 5 years ago, and boy, that thing was done.
Yeah, we're watching that Futurecast, and the thing is, we like to look at the initialization, and if you'll see that behind Ryan, is that what the current radar looks like? So this is a good example. You can see behind Ryan, it's a little more robust than what the actual.
It's too strong. Yeah,
it's too strong there. And now go to the current radar, and you'll see what we're talking about here.
Let's pop that on. Give it just a second. It is loading.
Oh, you're loading it over there. I was just thinking we could come back to the key, but however,
boom, just like that.
So you can see it's not quite as strong as what the Futurecast indicated. So we like to know what the initialization is because that helps us dial back or push forward both timing and intensity of the actual, radar, what's going to happen. So the difference is, and Ryan, go ahead and put it up on yours, and let's just keep it in this double box, and I'm going to explain it. So we'll go back to the initialization of the rapid refresh model. And again, at this point in the game, modeling is not a huge help. We're more into the nowcasting, but what does help us is the high resolution data. Comes out every hour for us, but you can see it is a little stronger. It still shows some of the returns around or just north of the city. It still shows what's going on across the south. So in general, that's not a bad initialization, but it is a little stronger than what we're seeing. It has pockets along this line that are stronger. While we have a little lightning, there's very little that would help to ramp this up in intensity than where it's already at. So the chances for severe weather that may maintain this, which is no warnings, but would have a hard time increasing. So other things would have to be at play, in other words. Does that mean it can't happen? No. But it's a super low chance of it happening, all right? So this is what we're dealing with on the radar, sort of these spirals or pinwheels around the area of low pressure that once was Hurricane Beryl. Remember, we started talking about Beryl, 2 weeks ago?
It's been about 2 weeks.
Holy
Can you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, we tracked that thing all the way from the Atlantic into the Gulf.
And this is the B storm, by the way. So this is like super early in the season, and we're doing this already. Usually it's like late August into September when you start talking about remnants of hurricanes in wave country. But shoot, we've barely shut off our July 4th fireworks here, and now we're dealing with this stuff on the radar. That's no good.
No, this is far from a burl of fun, right?
Oh, God. You've been sitting on that for a while.
It just came to me right there.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm having tropical weather fatigue already, though. I mean,
a tropical depression, if you will.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm good at this too.
That's good. We shouldn't have to be worrying about these anyway in Kentucky, but oftentimes they're helpful to us typically when we're trying to bust a drought. Oftentimes we get a nice, if it can happen, area of low pressure associated with the tropics that comes in, dumps a whole lot of rain, helps pull us out of a drought. So they're very beneficial to us in that respect. But like we mentioned, it's early in the season here. We're just not even to the midway point of July, and we're having to deal with the B-named storm moving across us on what's been a very active severe weather year, by the way. All right, it's 8:50. That's the time. I have no intentions of bumping back into wave programming unless we see some change on either intensity in the reflectivity or rotation in the velocity. For now, all of the action is well to our north, out of our area. Ryan has focused the radar over closer to Cincinnati. They're likely on with nonstop weather coverage there. They've got tornado warnings in their metro area, much like we had just a few hours ago. So, Ryan, give us an update.
Yeah, so we were talking about like Richmond, Indiana earlier. So there's one supercell just south of Richmond, Indiana here with a tremendous amount of lightning. And then the northern Cincinnati suburbs here, this is kind of... for lack of a better term here, this is kind of near where the IKEA is in northern Cincinnati.
Kings Island, maybe?
Yeah, Kings Island, Kings Mills up there. This is just east of Hamilton, Indiana. And what I could do is put on the velocity here, and that could show you where the rotation is within these storms. Now, this is coming from the Louisville radar, so this is not the closest radar site, so this is not going to be high-quality data. However, you can at least see where there is some of that general rotation, one there near I-75 north of Cincinnati, and then near Clifton, Indiana, just south and east of there on US 27. That is just south of Richmond. So the interesting thing about these two particular storms is where they are located in reference to where things were expected to be a problem today. So think about where these storms are. They're north of Cincinnati now. What I'm going to do is pop up where the main severe weather risk is today. Oh, interesting. They are well outside of where the enhanced risk is. So they're still within that slight risk area. It just shows you don't have to be in the maximum risk area to see a problem here. But the reason for that enhanced risk today is due to tornado potential. You see that yellow 10% area where we are here in wave country, most of us in that for now at least, but likely this will get settled down here pretty quickly the way things are trending. And then, of course, that 5% tornado risk where there's actually storms that are producing the potential for a tornado just to our north and east. Again, that is north of the Cincinnati metro area there. And that's where we have sort of the unencumbered atmosphere because our atmosphere is kind of worked over from all the storms we had today. Cincinnati hasn't seen quite as much after the morning round moved through parts of southern and central Ohio and into central Indiana as well. So that's an update on where there is severe weather, which is not here for the folks living within the 34 counties that we serve.
You know what would be interesting to see? Is overlaying on a map all of the tornado warnings that have been out over the last couple of days. I know it may, I don't know how fast we can get that done. But maybe
you're going to give me a challenge, and I like it. Let's try it.
Right. So maybe we could show, because I think you're going to see. I mean, what was yesterday? It was like a record day, right? We had 122 tornado warnings.
That was out of Louisiana. I mean, the maps that those meteorologists were putting out, it was just like these lines of tornado warnings from south to north.
Yeah, it was like three of them stacked up in an arc.
Yeah, but give me a minute. I'll get it in here. I'll get the KML file for us. And, all right. I think we'll be able to do it.
Well, I think what you're going to see is, today wasn't a total bust for folks that are, chomping at the bit for severe weather tonight. All right, it's probably not going to happen. But what happened just a few hours ago from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock when we were on nonstop chattering about all the weather going on was we had tornado warnings first in Adair County, and then we tracked one into from Ohio County right into Grayson. Then there were two storms in Grayson County. The far eastern storm took over. That storm was tornado warned as it moved through parts of Harned, Meade, Bullitt, came right up to Jefferson. And then thankfully, not even a severe thunderstorm warning got issued on that deal. So it was able to fizzle out completely. Why? Well, that first storm that was tornado warned across, let me just draw on this. Sometimes it's easier to draw. Maybe not even easier, but it's kind of fun. So we have the first storm was tornado warned. Keep in mind, we've got winds coming in at the surface coming in from the south. Aloft, this way. So what happened was it blew the tops. You got to think the thunderstorm grows in height, very tall. Some get as high as 40, 50,000 feet. That's massive. So with the height comes shearing of the clouds. So those stronger winds, as you go up in height, winds, that's wind shear. As that wind sheared the tops of those storms, we saw the cloud tops already move all across our area. That helps to stabilize the atmosphere. All right. When we can stabilize the atmosphere, the following storms that may try to push in days, well, not days, the storms that try to move in within hours later are typically weakened just a bit. So they get squashed. They don't like stability. Storms want to be able to thrive off of the environment around them. And when that environment is compromised, you just don't have the growth with those storms. Part of that is why the storms faded as they moved out of Bullitt County, northern Hardin County, into Louisville earlier. All right. And part of that is that we've worked over the atmosphere in other places. We have more stabilization in the atmosphere than what we had earlier. That wasn't necessarily in the forecast because of the strength of the low pressure. As the low pressure that's moving across continues to weaken. Clearly it was stronger when it moved on shore and made landfall across parts of Texas and brought tremendous amount of wind and rain. Obviously, its trek across the United States that it's made so far has weakened it substantially. And we continue to see that low pressure weaken. So the weather is always changing. It's always in motion. And we try to apply the equations of motion and the laws of physics to the atmosphere. But because to make all the calculations in the amount of time needed, in other words, it outpaces it because it's already gone by the time our computers can make that. So sometimes we nail it right on. Sometimes we may be a little bit off. The good news is the accuracy rate, because of the technology, has gotten to be tremendous. I mean, it's pretty good, right? I mean, that's why we give a 10-day forecast now. I mean, we feel you can get it on our app. You might as well get it on TV. So we can look out with confidence 3-4 days. That's good. Our confidence is usually pretty high. Now, sure, things can change that. When we start getting out 5, 6, 7 days, there's still some iffiness to it. You get out 9, 10 days, there's obviously more questions. But I'll tell you what, if you pay close attention and look through the 10 days, you can certainly see the trend that's going to happen. And that usually comes with at least some accuracy. Maybe not a lot of precision, but accuracy. All right, all right. Enough of all that. This is how boring the nights got with these storms. I was sitting here talking about the 10-day. All right. Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I've got something more exciting than this.
Yeah, let's get to this.
Okay, check this out. I just pulled this from the Iowa State Mesonet archive there. And what this is a map of every single tornado warning in the United States from 8 p.m. Sunday night to about 58 minutes ago. And you can see the over 120 tornado warnings that were issued for parts of East Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Central and Southern Arkansas, and heck, even a couple near Corinth, Mississippi there. And that was yesterday. Absolutely crazy that almost the entirety of the quarter here of Northwest Louisiana was covered in a tornado warning at some point there. They overlap so much, it's hard to see where the individual polygons are.
Now,
so 100 plus tornado warnings.
Yeah, I think it was 122.
122 is what you were telling me earlier.
And then you notice you get into that lull. Why is that?
It's because during the overnight hours, we didn't have the amount of CAPE, which we were talking about earlier, that storm energy. So it caused this gap. So like Memphis, Jackson, areas of southeastern Missouri, even like Paducah, were all spared. But notice it fired right back up a little closer to Murray, Kentucky today. And ever since then, we've been tracking, these tornado warnings kind of dancing north and east. And eventually, this is the latest warning that we have, but there have been a couple more closer to just south of Richmond, Indiana here. But these are the tornado warnings that we have seen today in our area here. So you notice we were on the air, for like 3 kind of sections of tornado warnings, if you will, that moved through our counties here, and one that came right up to the southwestern part of the Louisville metro area that was making our hair stand up on end. But thankfully, that did not put down a tornado, even though we saw this incredible looking, this crazy looking wall cloud down near Radcliffe from our E-Town SkyTrak camera. So those are all the tornado warnings, just tornado warnings from the remnants of Beryl as it made landfall in Texas.
Well, and that map really tells the story. I mean, you could pick out solidly 4 to 5 different supercells that we had in our area, and they all had tornado warnings with them. Does it mean they touched down? No, we haven't had any damage necessarily reported by tornadoes, but we had obviously the supercell on radar. We had the rotation showing up, and we had visually, in some cases, spotters saying funnel clouds. So warnings were issued for a number of those. Tonight, that's a different story. We don't have that energy. Things are a little calmer than what we had with the peak heating of the day. So that's excellent news. But for folks to say that it was a no-show for severe weather, just look back at that map. And did we have what Louisiana had? And maybe that's what you were expecting? No, that was an anomaly on its own. And it'll be interesting on that to see how many of those are actually confirmed. I mean, that might have been somebody just been like, well, everything that comes out's a tornado warning. Well, that's not necessarily the best way to warn for storms. And I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying it's going to be interesting to see the follow-up on the actual tornado touchdowns versus the number of warnings that were issued. Not always easy to do in the tropical atmosphere that we have. That said, we have had a number of tornado warnings across our area today, but we're not having them right now. And that's the good news. Frankly, as every minute that passes, and we've been on here for just shy of an hour, coming up on an hour at about 10 after, but everything is weakening. We've even lost the lightning out of this band for the most part, right? So we've got a few bolts of lightning here or there. In fact, 69 out of our viewing area within the last few minutes. So that's what we're watching. The threat of severe weather is easing. Good news, everybody's going to get some sleep tonight. We don't have to worry about a lot of severe weather overnight tonight. Technically, the watch is still in place. They probably won't cancel that until the back edge of this moves past. But once that happens, the watch will expire. That should move past here between 10 and 11 o'clock tonight. All right, Ryan, what do you got?
Okay, we got a lot of comments here, folks asking like, hey,
I think we've lost our mind.
Well, actually, we seem pretty cogent compared to some of the comments that are in here this evening here. But here's the deal. A lot of folks are asking like, okay, so like, are we done? Is this over? One guy on YouTube says, like, that squall line's falling apart. Some other folks are like, hey, my weather app shows that we're getting ready to have some bad storms. Well, a lot of what you're seeing, if you're seeing a weather outlet or weather app saying that here comes the bad storms, it's relying on model data. Guess what? The model data is flat wrong right now. It has no clue that the atmosphere is worked over our area here, and that this squall line out to our west is just about completely dead here. We're still going to be watching the velocity on there to make sure no circulations try to form, because there's just a whole ton of wind shear in the atmosphere here. But for the most part, it looks like things are getting just a little bit better here. So we've got the potential, tonight to see not a whole lot more than what you see on the radar right here. Got a lot of folks in the comments here saying, thank you for the reassurance for this evening. A lot of folks don't do that. Yep, that does happen here. We wanted this to be a two-way conversation, kind of take your concerns and then kind of redirect, those concerns into, kind of a more healthy place here. Because, this isn't all bad, right? What we've seen today is a lot of warnings, but we really haven't seen a whole ton of damage aside from some that we had in Oldham County from this morning's round. And then once again, another little scattering of damage in the Grayson County area, a little closer to Litchfield, according to their emergency management. They had some trees down, some lines down. They did have a crash on the Western Kentucky Parkway that shut down traffic there in the Western Kentucky Parkway there earlier, but that has since reopened, thankfully. So that is what we are watching in the comments section now. A lot of folks were impressed by the amount of tornado warnings that we were able to show there. Sarah Morgan says it's raining in E-Town right now. In fact, yeah, if you look at the radar just behind you here, just behind me, I should say, you've had a lot of these little showers and downpours moving through basically from south to north, all following the parent circulation of the area of low pressure that's up in parts of eastern Illinois and western Indiana now, from, of course, the remnants of Hurricane Beryl here. Let's see. Chase is asking on YouTube here, curious about the storms building in Tennessee. I'm in the Marion, Taylor County area. What about those? What's going on down there? We'll take you down there here in just a second here while our computers kind of spin back up. We were able to remotely tap into these computers here, and sometimes it kicks us out, which is unfortunate in the middle of a severe weather situation. But here we go.
Yours kicked you out, and I accidentally kicked myself out over here.
So. Oh, goodness. Gracious. Yeah. But you'll see here, those storms down in Tennessee, ta-da, there's not a whole lot down there. It's kind of just the extension of the line of storms that's moving through our western counties. And you can follow that down to the Nashville radar in the middle Tennessee, just east of Columbia there in the Spring Hill area in Tennessee. But, I mean, there's no severe weather here.
And when you go back, you can clearly see on the loop that we're just extinguishing the energy.
The only thing I would say
that was southern, keep an eye on the southern storms.
These
the one
right
in
here.
Southern,
that's the only
exactly. Thing. So those would be the ones to watch.
No rotation in those at all.
And that's good news. That can still change.
Absolutely.
But those are that's really the only show. So for us to be able to say there is absolutely no chance would be wrong. But for us to say what's moving across southern Indiana and what's moving across near the Ohio River, that's accurate. I think it is out of here. We'll watch the ones southern along the parkways.
Pretty much there.
I think that's where we're looking at.
And Litchfield's already a spot that got hit earlier today, so it's going to be hard
several times.
Right. So the atmosphere down there is going to be kind of worked over. It's going to be hard for those storms to do much more than what you're seeing down there now.
Yeah, and again, I always like to pay attention on that view of just the lightning count. You know, we had like 69 strikes a while ago on the home view, and we're still close to that 65.
It's funny, that lightning counter, just for those who may not know, historically, we had that back in the 2000s and the 2010s on what was called ESP
Stormcutter
Live
HD.
with the Stormcutter HD. Then we switched to our current software back in 2013. They didn't have the feature. Well, guess what? It took 11 years almost to the day, but we were able to get the feature back 11 years later. So now we have a live lightning counter back up.
See what is old is now new again.
Right. We've been dogging the company that makes our weather graphics for years to bring back the lightning counter, and boom, there it is. And when we switched our new graphics over on March 25th, we put it back in there, and all the meteorologists in the building said, hooray, pretty much.
All right. Well, let's get to some few. Do we have more questions?
Yeah, here.
I bounced over here.
Let's see. Kayla says, so Corridon is fine. I can put my boys to bed. We live in a mobile home. A lot of folks can be nervous when there's a tornado watch in a mobile home.
The answer is yes. But now you're still going to see this line move through. So you're going to see gusty winds, maybe 20 miles, 30 miles an hour, some heavy rain for a period of time, maybe the last 20 to 30 minutes. But yes, I think after that, you're fine.
Michelle says getting hit hard with rain here in Breckenridge County and Webster right now. So as that line moves through, that's the rain that Michelle's seeing.
So once you get that rain out of there, Michelle, then you're fine. And it's pretty spotty across Breck County.
Let's see. Austin says Louisville got hit hard during the Memorial Day weekend. We needed a break. This has been the year of severe weather. I mean, it's been just
Memorial Day
nonstop.
Weekend, July 4th. Here we have
July
it again.
4th. Good grief. Yeah, it's been a lot to deal with. Let's see. Ashley says, y'all have put me at ease, kept me informed. Thank you for everything you do for us. The only people I trust. We appreciate you, Ashley.
Well, we should say thanks to those that are watching.
Yes.
You know, frankly, we're always watching this. We're sitting here. We'd be having this kind of conversation if we're sitting next to each other in the weather office. Yep. Brian, we sent him home to get some sleep. He was here this morning and was here until just after 7:15.
He's had a long day. He deserves to be at home right now.
And that's the thing. You know, I ran into Tawana this morning at like 2:30. So
yes, you've also had
crossed paths a number of times with everybody. A lot of you, because you're on here, probably watched us for a while. Some of you, oh, by the way, I should mention this because I was excited about this, the contest, right?
Yes, so, people were asking about the Twisters contest.
Yeah, well, it's over.
Who the heck won?
Well, I've got it in my email. Yeah. The people that won know because they emailed those folks today. But there were 200 people that were winners, and they each get to bring a guest. They each get small
Popcorn and a
popcorn
drink.
and a drink. So
Yeah.
you get the ticket, popcorn, and a drink, Twisters. So 100 people plus their guests will go to the Jeff Escape Theater and
The Blanket Maker 16 in J-Town.
yeah, so another 100 plus their guests.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I'm out of town for the deal, which I'm just bummed about. So I'm not
He
even
was trying to move his plans around, and they were literally rigid. So he was like, no!
spending time with my parents,
Which is super important, by the way.
Yes, and
That's a good
anyway.
thing. No,
But
it's all
it's
good.
going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be blowing everybody's phone up while it's happening. So
Yes, you will be. How's it going? How's it going?
I know.
Who's there?
Yeah, you know me too well.
Yes. When Kevin's on vacation, my phone doesn't stay on silent. That's for sure.
I was saying that when we were in vacation, we have some folks from Louisville that was with me, and of course
Yeah.
we had the tornado warning on July 4th.
Oh, I remember.
So
I was here.
I was sitting there watching that before the warning came out. I was sitting there yelling at my phone. I'm like, I can't believe there's not a warning. Come on. And then I called the station, and then anyway.
Yeah, and this was the Harrison
like,
County
what?
storm we're talking about, not the Louisville one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was like early afternoon.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, like put your phone down, like enjoy vacation. I'm like, oh,
Right.
this is the good part. I actually get to see more of what we do because I'm not in the middle of it when I'm on vacation.
It's kind of like being in a vacuum in here. And that's why, sometimes we want to do these Facebook Live and Wave Weather Now live streams from our studio.
Yeah.
Because we can see more of our tools in here
For sure.
than we can in our little studio that you typically see us on when we're on social media here. So that's kind of why we're in here today. Todd, your friend, says you're not going to show the movie at your house, Kev?
Yeah, well, come on over.
Invite 400
we can
people
put up one of those like blow up screens
Oh.
on the front porch. I don't know. We'll have that and lemonade.
We should point something out. So May says the radar on our app shows the broken
yes,
line
thank you.
of
Thank you.
storms getting to Jefferson County, Indiana. Is this accurate? Let's talk about the past button on the Wave
How are we
Weather
going to do
app.
this and show it?
Actually, I could do it. Watch this. So we'll keep this camera up here, and I believe I'll be able to turn my screen brightness in such a way that we can show this. I feel like I've done this before. So anywho, the problem is, and the thing that so many folks at home may not understand is that the Wave Weather app does a lot of different things. It doesn't just show you the current radar view, but it shows you the past radar view. Aha. That's not too bad. It's going to be out of focus.
yeah,
I
but we can
apologize.
see.
But we can make do. Okay, so you see the Wave Weather app here. I'll try to get out of Kevin's face.
Well, no, you're fine.
Okay.
I was trying to hide behind the phone.
Oh, yeah, you're going to hide. There you go. But
I'm just
anywho,
getting out of the way.
so you see this button right here? If I go back a bit, maybe it's easier to see. I'll just do this. That button right there, make sure that says past on the Wave Weather app.
You can tap it.
You can tap it, and it can say past plus future, future, or just past. Make sure that says past because that gives you the live actual radar data, that radar data right here. See how these match up? They look about the same. If I tap this until it says future, that doesn't look anything like what's behind me. So the future is basically that Futurecast data. And what we dislike, unfortunately, but this is the default setting here on this app, is that it often goes to that past plus future or future view. And everybody's like, well, your radar is wrong. Why do we even have this app? But make sure it says past. And if you can't make it say past,
Shouldn't it say current?
I wish it would say current.
That's so crazy.
That makes sense,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
we don't have the say in the app. This comes from a
Right.
third-party vendor, so we buy the thing, and there are very few customizations that we can make to it. Though we did just change the icons, which
Yes,
I like.
that took an act of Congress, but we got it done here. By the way, if you can't tap it to say past, because we've had this issue too. So if that button, if you can't make it say past, tap the three little buttons above that instead, and then tap where it says precipitation radar, because sometimes it can say 24-hour future. Nah, it needs to say precipitation radar. I know that's like the most archaic way to show you how to use an app here, but that's kind of what we have at our disposal here in the studio. We used to have an Apple TV that we could like loop
That
this
was
through.
nice.
I know, I missed that. We should get that back going again. But that's the reason why, in our discussions with our app vendor over time here, we'll ask them if they can change that default setting or get rid of it entirely, just to make sure that nobody's confused, because it's always tough when people are saying, hey, your radar's wrong. And we're like,
I don't think a lot of people use the future radar.
No, and it's not terribly useful because it's unfortunately not terribly accurate unless you've got a meteorologist kind of looking at that and knowing, is this right? Is this wrong? Have you looked at other data? You can't just look at one model and say, that's the gospel. Because if you did that today, you would think that we should be under plenty of tornado warnings right now, which we are not because the model was wrong. So that's our sermon about the Wave Weather app and the past button. Make sure it says past on the bottom right-hand side of the radar map.
We're just rolling through the maps here. I wanted to go back through the radar, always checking the radar, always checking the rotation. We have the storm over Grayson County, right in the heart of Litchfield across Rough River Lake. That area is seeing some heavy downpours nearby, but no rotation. Good news there. Another storm making its way up the Western Kentucky Parkway, very close to Cecilia, Glendale, Elizabethtown, close to the Blue Oval plant there that they're building. That is just rain. There's no rotation with that. I'm just going to click it on and off. And then we'll go back across New Haven. There's my hometown. As you work your way down toward Athertonville, pushing toward Howardstown. Rain, but nothing severe. We go back to the north. You can see we're going to run into a few thunderstorms across Meade County. It takes us over toward Andyville, northern parts of Breckenridge County from Hardensburg, Woodrow. Again, nothing severe. We have no rotation with any of these storms, even into parts of Harrison County. That's just south of Corydon. Thunderstorms, this is along that line. So if I zoom it out, you can see that's along the line, right? So we're looking along that line to see if there's any problems. There's a wind shift. We can see that based on the velocity, but little in the way of rotation and nothing strong. So nothing severe consequently. So we're fine. I'm mentioning all of this because I see your comments when it says, what about Madison, Indiana? Is Charlestown in the clear? What about Brandenburg today? So a lot of folks are asking about their locations. Now, many areas are not technically in the clear until this line passes. But here's what I'll say about that. Even ahead of that line, I would say you're 85 to 90% clear. I think the only area that we really have to watch, and it's a minor watch on its own, is what we see to the south along those parkways. So which way is that moving? Sorry, I meant to hit the play button and I hit the wrong button.
All of this is moving, by the way, south to north. We had a comment that was asking a question, why is this moving from south to north today? And it has to do with where the low pressure is in eastern Illinois, western Indiana. It's going to be drawing up winds from the south and southwest from where we're at now. You can see where that rotation is. So it makes a lot of sense, right? You get this rotating area of low pressure in eastern Illinois. It's kind of pulling toward the north. So the winds that are going to be driving these storms are also going to be coming out of the south for us because of how we have cyclonic or counterclockwise rotation here in the northern hemisphere. It's all thanks to the remnants of Hurricane Beryl moving through, giving us kind of a wonky, weird storm motion. We're used to things coming from the west, moving toward the east, bada bing, we're done. Today, it's mostly a south to north sort of storm setup here because of where the low is in relation to where we are.
How do you like the drawing?
It's beautiful. It's almost as good as Brian Good's drawings.
That's better than Brian's.
I mean, his abstract art is just frame-worthy. He's Jackson Pollock.
I have to try to read his handwriting. And I'm like, I
have a sample of his handwriting.
You do?
I do.
Why?
There's the sample of his handwriting from today. You can't see it. He said, where is Kentucky Mesonet Cam Grayson? And the rest of this is my handwriting, which is equally as terrible.
Right, yeah.
So it looks like hieroglyphics, unfortunately. I'm not going to show it to you too close because there are phone numbers for emergency.
I should not cast stones in glass houses, I guess, so I won't comment on handwriting.
Kevin's handwriting is very distinct. It's all kind of uppercase, and you know it's him. So it's almost like a font that you would have in a computer. Very, very predictable. I like it.
Need the Harned font.
The Harned font. I'm going to do that someday and make that. You can make your own fonts, by the way, if you didn't know.
All right, I'm putting on the, it would have been easier just to plop the surface map on, but
That's a handy little feature.
Isn't
Sometimes
it?
it's overly complex, but it's nice to be able to see, kind of where the low pressure is and then animate it over time. Now, by the way, these annotations are from the Weather Prediction Center, WPC. They're updated every, 1 to 3 hours. I can't remember the exact interval here, but these are actually being drawn by somebody and sent out. So this is kind of like a hand analysis here. And you can see that warm front pushing north and pushing the tornado threat up toward Richmond, Indiana, and Dayton, Ohio with it. Pretty much along and north of the warm front here is where you have your tornado threat. Now, typically a hurricane does not have fronts because it's tropical. And in this environment, once it got on land, it lost its tropical characteristics. It became cold core and it gained fronts. So now it's just like a typical mid-latitude cyclone, but tropical systems like tropical storms and hurricanes do not have fronts. There's your hokey weather fact right there.
Oh, how you like that?
Yeah.
All right.
Baroclinic versus barotropic for those weather nerds out there.
Extra tropical.
Extra tropical is what it is now. But yeah, I mean, so far it's just we're watching these additional cells, just kind of out ahead of the line. But there's no like organization. You don't see symmetry to them. You don't see that classic hook shape. I mean, we were seeing like every little rain shower earlier today had that classic supercell hook shape to it. This stuff is what I call blobular and really doesn't have anything on the velocity.
Blobular?
Blobular. It's like just blobs of storms instead of like being symmetrical.
That's a new one.
I mean, there we go. But that's what we're seeing is just storms with a lack of structure just because they're not able to tap into that good wind shear. The wind shear is what gives the storms their structure. It blows the updraft, or the downdraft, I should say, away from the updraft, makes them able to sustain, gives them that hook-like shape that we look for when we're looking for tornadoes here. This ain't it over Litchfield right now, but this is about the strongest storm we have. But look at the lightning count, 3 lightning strikes. And when you see this lightning count, by the way, that's a 10-minute count for the view that we're in. So only 3 strikes, but there's your tornado watch until midnight.
I thought that maybe they would expire some of the other counties, but they'll wait until it gets a row or two. It's going to happen, so that's not something
they have expired a few in Indy's area. It looks like just recently there that they hadn't before. Oh, there's your tornado warnings.
Yeah, I like this because this just explains why we were on the air all afternoon. First with that tornado warning, and then we had really the 4 out here. We had this was the one that started. This one took it away. Then that one had it. That came right up to southern Jefferson County, and then we had right up until 7 o'clock the one for northern Du Bois County.
Yeah, and we were very close on the Ripley one too.
Yeah, and the Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence was very close as well there. But look what happened in the Wabash River Valley today, just west of Evansville. They had kind of a miniature version of what happened down in Louisiana yesterday, where you had the same kind of.
And they were on the ground.
Exactly. They had the tornadoes. We did not. But they were in a similar situation to where they were in Louisiana yesterday, where like the same band of supercells was just putting down tornadoes and tornado warnings, both right along the Wabash River there.
All right. I see Mark Wilson is chiming in from the storm tracker, so let's bring him into the conversation. He's got a view of a cell that he's watching out there. Of course, it's not severe, but it's producing some rain. I'll go back to the radar view.
We'll be able to pop his video up on here. I've got that configured to do so. There we go. Video is up now, full.
Yeah. So, Mark, tell us where you are.
I'm over on U of L's campus. Just you can see this one kind of crossing the river. And you're right, it's not severe, but it looks like it has a lot of rain with it. I was watching it on the radar. And I was thinking, Kevin, you asked me earlier some of the worst damage I've seen. I was curious what you and Ryan would say, because I know you all have done this a lot longer than me. Anytime you've been out in the field or anything like that?
Well, thanks for asking. I tell you, the worst I've ever seen. Now, Henryville was bad. In fact, it was awful because it was
loss of life.
But I'll tell you, Greensburg, Kansas was the worst.
2007. It was the first EF5 tornado ever because they just changed the rating system.
Yeah, I can't hardly talk about that one, really.
It's tough. I was there the year after it happened in 2008, and it was still flat. It was.
It obliterated the town.
It was gone.
And I was, we of course were walking through there. Where, they were just trying to figure out what had happened. And you hear those stories that these people told. Like, if you weren't underground,
there was no way to survive.
You were gone.
And Dave Freeman of, at the time, KSN, Kansas State Network out there, the NBC affiliate in Wichita, was hailed as a hero after that. He was on the air ahead of it. Just groundbreaking severe weather coverage from him and his colleagues back then. But yeah, Greensburg, it was May 2007 when that happened.
Chasing those storms. And back in the early 2000s, I used to go out every year and chase. Ryan still does that on occasion.
Sure,
We've both been chasing together. We saw a massive tornado. Not much damage. Now, Mark, that was the better idea, was to be able to see a tornado move across the landscape of America without touching any structures. That was a beautiful tornado because it never hit anything and didn't cause any major damage.
Yeah, and I guess for me, the other than Greensburg, because I was there the year after and it was still pretty bad, it would have been Aurora, Nebraska back in 2009, and there was a house. It was an EF2 tornado. It was kind of a wedge shape to it. A house had been stripped of all of its exterior walls. You could see like bathtubs and toilets and all that kind of stuff. But the family was fine, and they were actually featured on the Weather Channel. They were interviewed. They went straight to the basement, and they were okay. But if they had been in any of those exterior rooms, the story may not have been so good. So it's kind of a testament to the fact that if you have a basement or tornado-safe place in your house, take it seriously. Go there if you have a warning issue. Now, these are all out in the plains that we were just talking about. But of course, we were talking about Henryville as well in our area. And then, of course, we can all remember Bowling Green and Mayfield.
My goodness, that one was terrible too.
And they had another tornado just recently. Like they can't catch a break out.
Yeah. So anyway, Mark, you're right. We've seen a lot of damage, and we've had a lot of it here at home. When you think of what happened in Henryville and what happened, and I remember that one because we were so prepared for it. The Mayfield one was odd because that happened in December.
That was super rare.
That's
like you may never see that again in your life.
And boy, how strong. And then, of course, to follow up on what's happened this year with so many small tornadoes, but the frequency of them has been impressive. All right. Mark said he was at U of L. I'm looking at the radar. We obviously saw the clouds moving in. Should start to see eventually a little bit of rain, perhaps, at U of L. It's raining Valley Station. We've got rain over through Rubbertown up to Shawnee. That includes the Chickasaw Park area.
Your question here real quick from JD on YouTube. Will you guys take the tornado watch off for some of the counties since the storm is over for them? That's actually not our job. That's the National Weather Service office in Louisville, Indianapolis, or Wilmington, Ohio, depending on where you're at within our 34 counties here. So we don't make that call. We can have opinions about it, but they don't mean anything. So basically, if you're out in Du Bois County, Perry, even Breckenridge, you're pretty much done with it, even though officially they haven't taken you out of the watch box. There's our opinion, for instance.
Yeah, and I'm almost ready to say everybody's in the clear. I mean, there's just I can't see anything happening through the balance of tonight. We're going to see some rain. Could be some winds 20 miles an hour, but outside of that, I just don't see it.
I'm glad you brought up the wind part because that's actually really interesting. Tomorrow, the winds will be worse than today with this system. Wednesday is the day when we'll see 30 mile per hour, just general gusts in the afternoon as sort of the core of the wind energy associated with the remnants of Beryl moves through. So this is sort of the storm part or the dirty side of the old hurricane now moving through. And then we get in on sort of the almost clear air wind part of it tomorrow in that section of the remnant low of the storm moving through parts of the lower Ohio Valley here.
Judy's asking about Taylor County. Are they going to see anything? I still think if there's anything to watch, it would be south of the parkways. It's scattered, so it doesn't guarantee that Taylor County sees something, but Hart County's going to see it. May move into parts of southern LaRue County, and we'll see what happens over toward Taylor, but along and south of the parkways holds the greatest chance.
Jen said, that's kind of rude. That's not our job. Well, it literally isn't. The National Weather Service, they're the official source for that. I love those guys.
The king of rude right here.
Obviously.
Yes.
Obviously. See me on one of those public freak out videos on YouTube.
On the milk carton.
Gosh.
Let's see.
Felicia's thanking us for keeping her safe and informed. We appreciate you, Felicia.
Felicia's been around for a long time. She's watched WAVE for so long. Thank you.
We see Felicia in our comments all the time, and it's always pleasant to hear from her.
Yes. Had a chance to meet her before.
Yes.
All right, is Louisville in the clear? There's, well, hang on.
There's Amy raining and windy in Irvington.
I don't know.
These comments fly too fast.
Too fast. There's Karen.
And if you're not seeing the comments in the bottom of the screen, that means you're watching us on our app or our live stream that's on our website, and that's okay. We'll read these to you.
Karen says, is Louisville clear? Is clear, and that's an interesting word, right? Like, does that mean clear of severe weather, clear of rain, clear of what? The threat of severe weather in Louisville is now minimal. We'd say probably less than 25% chance for any type of severe weather.
But it's not zero.
It's not zero, but it's getting closer by the minute. So the way it works is severe weather threat was up here earlier today. We had tornado warnings popping all around us, one moving into the city. And from every hour from that point, we've been able to take the severe chance down further and further. We still have a little bit more to go before it's completely out of here, but the chance is getting lower and lower, and eventually it will end. All right, so that's where we are for Louisville, almost in the clear.
So that's the answer to that question. Not totally, but we're getting closer, and everybody's asking about their individual counties here. For most of us, what he just said applies to you, unless you're like in Du Bois County, in which you're completely done with this.
Yeah, the chance is a little bit more south of the parkway. So instead of it being a chance like this, it's a chance like that, but it's going down too. All right.
Yeah. Let's see. Janetta says, I'm glad I don't have to leave my mobile home in Brooks tonight. Thank you for keeping us updated. You're welcome. We know that not everybody, lives in a situation where they have that tornado safe place real close by. So it requires a little bit of planning. That's why we say have not a smoke detector, a weather radio in your home, which is like a smoke detector for tornadoes, as Kevin says here. And we really do believe that. Weather radio with battery backup is your first line of defense here. But keeping up with these storms with us here on our live streams and on the Wave Weather app is an even better way to do that, too, because you can see well before a warning is issued when you might have a problem and you need to go find that safe place.
Well, Tyler's another big weather fanatic. He says, thanks, spending time away from your families. We're here. Most nights I'm here until 1 or 2 in the morning, sometimes a little later. Orion's shift splits Brian and my shift, so he's here usually through about this time anyway. So listen, this is what we do. We enjoy getting on here and talking about the weather, whether we're talking with everybody or just amongst ourselves. This is kind of fun. So we enjoy this. How much longer for Radcliffe? Is the storm to the south weakening?
At this point, Radcliffe, you probably have another maybe 45 minutes before this thing really clears you out here. It's going to take some time for that line to the west, since it's moving kind of south to north and then with an eastward component to really get through there. So you guys have some storms just to your south now, really just some downpours. And then you see additional actual thunderstorms near Centerview with actually 3 lightning strikes down that way. None of this is severe, but the stuff near Centerview is a little stronger. That is actually going to miss you in Radcliffe to the west, as it were, because that's moving kind of south to north.
Yeah, so they could get clipped by this.
Just the very eastern edge of that, maybe hitting the western edge of the city. Yeah, I could see that.
So a little bit of rain moving in, or heavy downpour, but it's not severe. And in fact, if we stop the radar view and look at any type of velocity with that,
where it's whenever you just see like a solid color like that with no deviations in it, that's when you know you have like a uniform wind flow and you don't have any kinks in that wind flow to spin up a tornado or anything like that. So we're really not seeing that. You will see brighter spots, and those brighter spots represent where we have faster winds. And we do have some of those near Broad Ford, Kentucky, it looks like.
That was one area you saw that caught my eye. I zoomed into it. It's going to be this spot here. A little bit of a pocket of heavier wind,
maybe
perhaps.
40-mile-per-hour gusts with that.
But nothing severe.
No.
And again, that's south of the parkways. That's the area that we would watch for the next couple of hours. We'll let this get past us. It'll take a little bit of time to get this through here, but that is the area to watch. Would be sort of in that zone along and south of the parkways. You can see the movement of that.
And Sherry's asking how much more time until Litchfield is cleared. You guys are right on it right now. Give it 15 minutes and you're done.
You're clear. There's no severe weather in Litchfield.
Nope.
Rain, yes, but
you'll get the storms completely out of your hair in about 15 minutes.
Correct.
It looks like so.
All right. Good. Well, we can't go through all the towns. That'll take us long. We'll be here for 10 days.
Oh, more questions about the Twisters movie too.
People are firing fireworks now.
Oh, and
that's hilarious.
In Litchfield, people are firing
when
fireworks.
are they not? And in Louisville, it's tough to tell what it is. But the storms past Litchfield, and people are setting off fireworks. That's funny.
Hey, at least we've had plenty of rain today, so we won't start any fires with those. That's some good news. I try to look on the sunny side of things.
Which one were you asking about?
Let's see if you scroll up just a touch there. There we go. When does the Twisters movie debut premiere occur? The one that we're hosting.
Yeah, so that's, across the country, it'll come out on the 19th of July.
Yep.
In select theaters, you're going to see it on the IMAX and the Jumbo. It has a name. I can't think of the name of the screen. It's got to be a certain dimension and certain sound. But it comes out there first.
Yes.
And that's the 17th. And that's the one we've partnered with. So we have a whole theater reserved at both locations of Escape. Now, they will have that movie showing in tandem in another theater that you can buy tickets for, by the way. But the free tickets that we were able to give away are in one theater of its own.
So it's sort of the pre-premiere of this movie that if you won, which by the way, we've sent out those emails today saying if you have won or not, if you entered our contest. So if
Do you know how many people entered?
We had over 7,000
It's like
people.
Almost 7,500, 76, something
7,600, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And that just shows you kind of the power of saying, hey, guess what? Free tickets if you want to win. A lot of people will participate in that.
All right. I tell you, we're going to, there's still a ton of people watching here.
We've got almost 1,800 folks within our scope of Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, and all of those platforms here that we can see. And then we have untold number of folks watching on the live stream that's available within the Wave and Wave Weather apps. That's Wave Weather now, by the way, and on our website too. So lots of folks, thousands likely here.
LaDonna says no rain in our area just south of E-Town. Glad no storms, but we need the rain. That's sort of the trade-off. It seems like it's feast or famine, doesn't it?
Isn't it now?
That's one thing we can put on. Let me show you the rain totals. We might as well go through these. I'm going to zoom in and show you the city first. This is Louisville. Some areas picking up over a half an inch of rain. You can see that from Prospect right down, not too far from Parkland. And that's a familiar name because it was hit by the tornado, on July 4th.
EF1 on Thursday.
Had a quarter of an inch of rain, not too far from that, near Valley Station, working your way over toward Fairdale, just above a third of an inch in Okolona. J-Town, about a tenth of an inch, 2/10 over toward, say, Springhurst. So those are the Linden, about a quarter of an inch of rainfall. And then we had some impressive totals in parts of southern Indiana. Let me go back to our Mesonet sites all across the region. And you can see Hardinsburg picking up over an inch and a half of rain. Brandenburg, nearly 3/4 of an inch. Litchfield, over an inch. A third of an inch up at Salem. They needed that rain up there. It was pretty isolated, though. Kind of spotty.
That's
those
the problem.
Large sort of bands or supercells that were tracking with it, but it was not everywhere.
Feast or famine, as we said. And with this line moving through now, it's kind of broken, and it's not as heavy as those supercells were when it came to the rainfall rates here. So we'll be happy with what we get, but we could still use a little bit more rain. Kevin's pulling up the storm reports now. These are from the last 12 hours. So you can see where we've had those tornadoes reported to our west, where we've had flooding reported, and extreme rainfall rates as well. And he's going to back it up to, it looks like 60 hours. So now we can see all the tornado reports down to our south. He's going to dial off all the different other reports that are non-tornado or funnel cloud related here, leaving just the tornado reports. And wow, look at that. You can see down in Louisiana. Now, these don't necessarily represent one tornado each. Sometimes there could be multiple reports for the same tornado. Sometimes there are tornadoes that don't get these reports just yet. So this is just kind of an initial sampling of where folks have reported tornadoes, like eyes on the ground or pictures or video here, these official local storm reports from the National Weather Service.
Yeah, so that's interesting. You know, we have had a number of reports, but nowhere near the amount of reports that have come into the storm reports versus the warnings.
Yeah, the warnings were far outpacing the reports today, which is a good thing. We don't want to see, tornadoes without warnings on them.
That's for sure.
For that matter. So it's good to see that that really hasn't come to fruition today the way that was feared could have when you have the remnants of a hurricane moving through and just an absolutely juicy atmosphere to potentially capitalize on that wind shear. We just weren't able to capitalize on that wind shear as much due to the storms working over our atmosphere a little earlier.
Terry's saying the NOAA weather radio no longer shows any warnings for Hardin County, where there have been no warnings for a long time. Maybe you mean watch? Let's check and see.
Oh, yeah, let's check the watch.
Perhaps
here.
they faded that out.
I haven't checked NWS chat here.
No,
Not
still
quite yet.
Still have the watch.
But that'll be instant. Once they do clear the watch here, I'll step out of the way. You'll be able to see the counties kind of fall off of here and more of them show up in brown rather than red.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, but we're going to be watching those storms to the south. We've got to record a few things in the studio, so we'll say goodbye for now, but if we need to jump back on, clearly we'll do that on all of our social and digital streams, and we'll do that on television as well if we need to get back on. Otherwise, we'll see you back here at 11 o'clock. The worst appears to be far over at this point, and we will continue to watch the radar, especially along and south of the parkways. But at this point, sort of a fading line of thunderstorms moving past. Not even a whole lot of thunder with it.
No, with the lightning count being as low as it is, hard to call it thunderstorms at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be here. And if we need to break in, we will. And we'll, of course, be live streaming here if we need to do any of that, too.
All right. We'll say good night for now. Sleep well. And we'll see you back here tonight at 11 o'clock. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Kevin Harned with Ryan Hoke. And for all of us at Wave, we appreciate you tuning in.
Good night.